Thanks very much, Paul. Hi, I'm Apache. I'm going to be running Metal Gear Solid 3 on the PlayStation 3. And just, yeah, thanks for having me here.
I'm Mockingjay. I'm his girlfriend. Just support.
So I'm just finding my New Game Plus save. I'm going to be running the New Game Plus version. Am I doing my own time? Is it the button? Yeah, sweet. Just thought I'd check. I'm going to start time just after Snake finishes his speech.
After the end of World War II, the world was split into two, East and West. This marked the beginning of the era called the Cold War.
And thanks. Small round of applause. Everyone's asleep, to be honest with you. It's super early in the morning here. So Metal Gear Solid 3, European Extreme. European Extreme is the highest difficulty. The main difference is when guards see you, you're going to instantly get a game over. So we have to be super stealthy, or as stealthy as possible for most of the game. And then, of course, the bosses will kill you in 1 or 2 hits as well. Unfortunately, the game starts you off nice and slow. We're going to collect our backpack from the top of the tree. Metal Gear Solid 3 is set in the jungle, which is different from the previous 2 games where it was set more in tight spaces. It's a little more open world, but essentially it's still made up of tons of smaller rooms. So before we sneak past any guards, the game's going to warm us up by letting us sneak past some crocodiles. And they're pretty lethal. If you move in the wrong way or move past the tail, they can knock you into the mud and instantly kill you. So try and watch out for that. It's not too difficult, but it is fun if you do get one shot by the crocodile. So I'm going to walk over the head.
Bit cruel to the crocodiles, isn't it?
Yeah, it's super dangerous. So on European Extreme, guards will still go down to 1 tranquilizer to the head, but they take about 1 million in the chest, so we do always have to score headshots. And as I say, if I move too close to them, they will spot me, so I'm going to stay here to take out these first 2. Another trick we use is if you put a tranquilizer in the body and then you roll into them, it will just knock them straight out. And you do get like a second when a guard sees you before he alerts, and then you get a continue. Then I'm going to do like a bump roll. Snake's hitbox on his roll is really big, so you can move right through a guard before you roll and it'll still hit him. Again, I'm just going to try and roll through. Here I have to be really careful because there's 3 guards. If you miss any of like your shots, it will alert the guard behind and move him into a really bad position. So here I'm going to shoot and make him run behind that tree. As long as I roll there, he won't see me. While he's on his radio, he doesn't pay attention to his surroundings or footsteps. Moving into Rasvet for the first time during the Virtuous mission is really difficult. You're essentially on a tightrope. And you have to move to each position correctly to respond to the guards. That's called a quick headshot. As long as you're on the same terrain, you can aim and go into first-person view and then instantly score a headshot by standing on your tiptoes. So here I've got to roll away so the guard doesn't see me, and then he'll see his down buddy. As long as I get this roll right, this guard won't alert. That's fine. That's a hard little room. Just because you have to get everything right, and if you sort of get stuck during any of your movement, one of the 3 guards will see you. That's the end of the Virtuous mission. Missed a fun cutscene there where Snake beats up an entire unit, including Ocelot. Also, if you shoot the downed Ocelot with a lethal weapon, it'll come up with a time paradox, because obviously Ocelot's alive in the later games. This Metal Gear Solid 3 is set before Metal Gear Solid 2 and 1. That's the end of the Virtuous mission. We get thrown off a bridge by the boss and get seriously injured. So I'm just going to go through like a cure menu here and heal my wounds as quickly as possible. It won't let me progress until I've healed all the wounds. Paul, if you want to jump in here, that'd be cool.
Certainly. We have a $75 donation from Bureaucrat with no comment, but their donation is going to the Metroid Zero Mission 100% showcase of perfect stealth and the Katana Zero hard mode psychotherapy secret boss. So thank you for that donation.
Big donation.
Yeah, it's really nice. No comment, the flex. So that's the end of the Virtuous mission. And now we're coming back to the same place we just were, but at night. Essentially doing the same mission again before it opens up to the wider game. This time the movement is a lot more complicated. The first two rooms with guards in Snake Eater are really, really complicated. I'll try and explain them as best I can as I do them. So the next cutscene, essentially you get your weapon taken away from you. That's part of why these rooms are quite tricky. I'm hopefully going to roll into a cutscene here. If you roll into the prone, Snake's body stretches out, so you can hit cutscene triggers a little bit easier by doing that. Okay, so this room, there's two guards off in the distance. I have to roll at a very specific time because I need one guard to notice me in a certain way, and his buddy to notice the guard noticing me. As long as I'm tight to the wall there, I can get past, and then if I hold my stun grenade on certain terrain, it'll silence my footsteps. So that's why I could just walk behind that guard. If I didn't hold the grenade, the guard would have turned around. So silent footsteps works on very specific terrain. You can't just always hold a grenade and silence your footsteps, but all the rooms we need it to work, it works, so it's kind of just fortunate how it works out. This room's really tricky. Sorry, I was just holding my breath there. If you don't get the roll absolutely perfect, the guard will notice you, and then you have to wait for like a second before you can progress as well. And the whole time you're just anticipating the alert. So I'm coming up on like the first boss. It's really just 10 guards. On most difficulties, it's very easy, but with European Extreme, if you get seen at all, it's game over. So it just makes this boss 10 times harder. I think it's one of the more difficult bosses in the whole game. I'm essentially going to be manipulating the AI to make all the guards react to each other so what I'm doing works. If any of my shots miss, if I move incorrectly at all, I'll get a game over. And plus there's quite a long menu at the start of it, so if I get a game over, I'll lose even more time because I'll have to do the menu every single time as well. So I'm just going to shut up and concentrate for this one. It is a particularly difficult room, and if I mess it up, that'll become really obvious. So at the start here, I'm just going to set my menus up for the rest of the game. I've rolled too close to the door, I think. Maybe it's going to be okay.
Let's move.
I'm just going to wait for something to happen before I move. I'm going to wait for the guard to say what's wrong.
Oh, the music doesn't help.
Okay, done it.
You're brave.
It's really, really tricky, and just any slight mistake during it, you're going to get game over, and then you have to start the room again, and then the pressure will just mount and mount and mount. So I'm really happy I did that.
Yes.
Thanks. Okay, so here we're going to swim in some leech-infested water. I'll have to take the leech out. You hear like a little sound of it attaching onto you, and then it will just continue to drain your stamina. It doesn't really give you any other warning apart from the sound. I'm going to try and dive under this crocodile. You kind of get like a good start on the swim if you dive in there. But if you listen, you will hear it attach there, attach then. So that's the only kind of giveaway the game gives you, unless you go into the cure menu and actually physically look for it.
And the fact your health is like deteriorating.
Yeah. Yeah, you start to drain, on European Extreme you drain your stamina super quick, so it's more obvious I suppose. But if you keep that in all the way to the end of the game, you get a special rank, which is the leech rank. So in the practice room I was practicing yesterday, and I didn't have my headphones with me, and obviously the monitors are quite quiet so everyone can use them. This room requires a specific audio cue. I know you've done it correctly, and I just messed it up every time, so I'm looking forward to actually having sound. It's a really long room, so mistakes are punished really badly with continues. I have to shoot there to make the dog bark to distract the guard. You can see the guard saying, huh? That moves him into a specific place. And then I need to get over there as quickly as possible, so I can manipulate two guards using the box. And I also have to be there before there's a dog right at the end. And I have to be there before the dog turns around as well. So lots of little moving parts. Got to move over that tripwire there. So the dog sat down, so that's really quick. If the dog's still sat down when you get there, you're on pace. You're fast enough.
Better not be hurting the dogs.
No. Maybe I might have to put one to sleep later, but I'm going to throw a smoke grenade at another one. But that's it. Apart from that, I'm really nice to animals.
Stop being mean to the animals.
Yeah, I might kick a snake at some point as well.
Oh my god.
What about people? Is that okay?
Yeah, you can kill all the people you want. Just don't hurt the animals.
Just sleeping. So here I'm going to change my camouflage. My face paint I'm going to change to brown because that gives me unlimited oxygen. That's like a HD collection only thing. Grenade camo is a New Game Plus camo. Gives me unlimited grenades, and it allows me hopefully to do a specific loop with this boss, but sometimes it can just randomly fail. So I'm just going to throw a grenade, and when the grenade goes off I'm going to use auto aim to hit him in the chest. But if Ocelot turns around, it will fail, so yeah, he's gonna just run off now. Oh no. I've never moved over there before. If you get poisoned, you have to take it off immediately because you just lose way too much health. So I have to keep moving there because as long as you're moving, Ocelot won't hit you. I think he kills you in like 3 or 4 hits. So as far as bosses in the game goes, he's on the weaker side for damage. But he can still kill you. I've been killed by him plenty of times. Unfortunately, when you're doing that grenade loop, depending on where you get your first shot is where he'll sort of stop. And then normally, if he's too close after the second grenade, he'll turn around, which will make him react differently. If he's facing you, he'll just immediately respot you and start shooting you, and that's what keeps him in the loop. But it's one that's like 50-50. So far, 0 for 2 on getting that in Marathon. So if you can't see at this point, I'm in a cave. It tends to be that during Marathon, it's just like looks like a black screen.
Usually I can't see it, but I can actually see it this time.
Yeah, on this screen, it's looking really nice. Paul, if you need to jump in here at all, you're more than welcome, mate.
Okay. So here's $5 from Anonymous with no comment. Thank you very much. And I'd like to take this moment to talk about our charity that we're supporting, Save the Children. Save the Children has created more safe spaces in the US and around the world for children in emergencies than any other humanitarian organization. When a disaster strikes, these safe spaces can provide children with protected areas where they participate in organized activities to play, socialize, learn, and express themselves as they rebuild their lives. For all of you that have donated so far, and for all of you that are still to donate, thank you so much for all of your support in this event.
So this is the pain. The game's quite serious in a way. You know, it's like a military game, survival, third-person shooter, and then the bosses sort of fulfill the magical realism role that's quite heavy in the Metal Gear Solid games. So the pain controls bees with his mind.
That is fun.
And he's kind of dressed like a bank robber, and he also break dances.
Wait,
so,
they're bees. They do not look like bees.
yeah, they're bees.
They're like mini little bats or something.
They're definitely bees. He controls them with his mind, and oh, sorry, I've got to. Sometimes he doesn't put the shield back on when he stands up. So yeah, he controls hornets with his mind, and he break dances. One of my favorite bosses in the game.
And he breakdances.
Yeah, he break dances. He's an amazing dancer. His most dangerous attack is like the homing hornets, but for some reason on the HD collection, as long as you're in the first person view, they won't hit you. So recently, as in last week, there's a Tomb Raider speedrunner called Appel who managed to find a skip for the pain, but it doesn't work in European Extreme because it requires two fake death pills, and you only get one in European Extreme. So that's unfortunate. He's also managed to sequence break the game further. He can skip the lab, and well, he didn't find the mountain skip, but there is a mountain skip as well, but none of it's available on the HD collection. It only works on the PAL PS2 version.
That's helpful, isn't it?
Yeah, so here's some nice skips. I'm sorry, but you can't do them on your version. But I plan to run the PAL version in the future.
Yeah, didn't you learn like the skip for the pain like super fast?
Yeah, so I can do the pain skip, but it just doesn't work on this,
Yeah.
unfortunately. So earlier we put that the face paint on that gives us unlimited oxygen. That allows us just to swim to the end of this section. As long as I avoid the searchlights, if I'm inside the searchlights, I'll get seen and it'll put me back to the start. Because of the frame rate on the PlayStation 3, you can get out like underneath this searchlight at the end without getting spotted. But if you try to do it on the Xbox One, you'll get caught and you have to go a different route. So this kind of only works on the PlayStation 3, which is lucky. So this part here, if you do that on the Xbox One, you get caught. And there are some like other minor differences between the two versions. So the warehouse exterior have to be like really sneaky to get in there because there's quite a lot of guards to get past. So I'm just going to try and be like as sneaky as possible.
That didn't see me.
So using the explosive barrels, hopefully that caution will go, otherwise that means one guard's still alive. No, cool. Using the explosive barrels is easier than just aiming at the guards, but you have to kill the one that's closest to you. Sometimes if you hit a guard with like a Patriot bullet and then hit the barrel, the explosion won't kill him because he gets like iframes from the first time you hit him. Warehouse interior, the first time, super difficult. We're just going to use rolls to manipulate each guard. So as I roll into the first guard, I'm not sure that'll work. Yeah. So as I roll into the first guard, the guard above will turn.
What's wrong?
Which means they're not facing towards me and means I can sort of get a run up on them and get a chance to roll. It's just kind of lucky how that works out. But if any of your rolls are incorrect, the guard will spot you. And sometimes, like Raichu got, unfortunately, in his GDQ run, the guard just faced towards him after he did the first roll. And that can happen. It's rare, but just unfortunate that can happen.
There you go.
It's just there's tons of traps everywhere in the jungle, but with the spike trap, as long as you're at the left or right of it when you set it off, it just goes straight past you. So I'm just heading into the lab now before I put the scientist costume. Paul, if you want to jump in here at all, that'd be fine, mate.
Well, okay, so Here's a $15 donation from Mod366. Good morning, everyone. Greetings from the audience. Greetings from the donation reading desk. Does anyone happen to know the lyrics to Snake Eater to sing it? No? Well, never mind then. Good luck on your run, Apache. Money goes to my boy, Waluigi. Can't believe he's that far behind. And neither can I. But thank you for your donation.
No, sorry, I don't know the lyrics to Snake Eater. I've never actually heard it before. I won't be singing that. Do you fancy singing that?
No, I'm not singing that. You don't wear this voice.
So coming into the lab here, I'm going to use the scientist costume. The lab has some really interesting mechanics because if the guards see you in the scientist costume, as long as you're moving, they're not going to alert, so they just think you're one of the scientists. However, the scientists know you're not one of the scientists, so it doesn't work on them. So there's an interesting way we get around that. I'm going to use the box to go down the stairs. I don't know if I mentioned this, but the box allows you to get the normal running animation on any terrain, whereas if you run up an incline, you'll be slower. So that's why we use the box. But it has another use as well. Oh, I might. No, this might be okay. When I run into a scientist, it resets his AI. So when they see you as in the scientist costume, after a certain amount of time, they're going to alert and know you're not one of them. But if you run through them, it resets that timer, so you get more time. And as long as you hit the load zone as well, you're fine. So I can just run to the end here. On the way out, it's a little bit different because the guards can alert to a box, but the scientists won't. So as long as I get around that corner quickly enough in the box, the guard or the scientist won't catch me there.
If they wouldn't think a box isn't strange.
Yeah, there's a later bit where you literally just run at the mechanics later in the game. You're just running around in a box because there's no guards there, and they'll never alert to a box, so you're fine. Leaving the lab's pretty easy. Those doors are really irritating when you first start running the game because you'll run into them and get this like slow opening animation, running like directly at them. Otherwise, they're trouble. I'm gonna set up some menus for later. The animals camo is awarded for a non-lethal victory against Ocelot, and if our stamina drops below half, normally your aim would shake. It makes it like impossible to shoot anything. But the animals camo prevents that shaking. It's definitely the most useful camo in the whole run. So I'm just coming up to the fear, but I've got a little bit of time if Paul wants to jump in here at all.
Right, I have a $15 donation from Reacha7. Wish I could have been there to see the run, but I've been awake far too long, and falling asleep in the audience is probably not a good look. Best of luck with the run, Apache, and show the Cobras who's boss. Thank you for your donation.
Thank you. I think speedrunners and early mornings don't really mix. I'm assuming they were all up pretty late last night, but me and Paul, we're the good boys, so we're up early. So the fear, as long as you fake death pill right at the start of the fight, he'll jump to the nearest tree. Normally he'd pick a random one. As soon as he starts moving towards me, I can revive. If you revive any sooner, he just runs off. I'm going to throw the stun grenade at the floor, and then switch to the Patriot, look away from the stun. When you're shooting him doing lethal damage, it will count as stamina damage if you're stunned. And I had to take the poison out as well. It's just like the easiest time to do it during that fight. So yeah, not the hardest boss in the game. But if you mess sort of like if you're slow on any of the sections on what you have to do there, he will just break free from the stun and run off. From what I know, he's difficult to fight normally. I never have. So.
He's just too good.
Trick's too good. The warehouse on the way back is really complicated. You have to shoot that guard at the back and then get down here before the guard on the second floor begins to turn around, so I'm down fast enough. Then I have to take a very specific line. I knock to distract the guard, and then I just run around and cigar gas spray the last one. Again, it's like that tightrope situation I explained before. if you come off it at any point, you'll get seen. We always roll into those codecs as well. It gives you a little bit of a time save. I'm gonna get a call from Uber, telling me that the next part is the end. Not the end of the game. It's the boss called the end. There's also a boss called the boss, but that's not this boss. That boss is at the end.
Yeah.
It's true.
That should be on a t-shirt.
I will make that joke every time I run this game. This is one of those long rooms where you don't want to fail later into the room, but it just gets like more and more dangerous as you go through. So I had to roll that guard in a specific way to get him behind the tree so he wouldn't see me when he gets up. The second guard, I shot the wall to distract him, and then I have to use my stun grenade to silence my footsteps while he's on the radio. This guard, I'm going to do like a box bump, which puts me in the right line for cigar gas spray. And I'm going to set up my menu to the next room. The end is no joke. The end can completely kill your run. Because if he kills you, he does stamina damage. You don't actually die. You get taken back to the lab, and you get put in the basement of the lab. So you lose, I don't know, so much time. If that happens, I would have to load a save. So if any of these shots hit me here, you know, the run's over. I'm loading a save. But there's a very specific line that I take there, which means I can avoid both his shots. I'm going to switch back to the grenade camo now. In order to loop the end, because what we do to him is like a loop, like an infinite, you need a lot of grenades. And normally you would pick up the smoke grenades, and you would use a mix of stun and smokes to do it. But on New Game Plus, you can use the grenade camo, and you only have to use stun grenades. And it's a little bit easier because smoke grenades make you cough, whereas stun grenades you can just look away from them. If Snake coughs, it's like it stops you from doing any actions. Again, I'm just using the box to go up the terrain. It's not obvious, but all of this is like uphill. But yeah, the end's really difficult. I'm gonna shut up so I don't mess it up. If I do for any reason lose the loop, I'll have to kill myself with a grenade to sort of reset the room again. But it's a lot better than like taking stamina damage and being set really far back. So again, to get behind him, I just use the footstep cancel. I'm gonna hold him up. You have to be really, really careful as well, because when he runs into you, it's like you're not there, he'll just push you along. If you kill him as he hits the load zone, it'll completely soft lock the game. And that was found by accidentally by Iridescence, who I think is the only person who could soft lock the game during the end fight. He's definitely the first person to do it, and I think the only person who's done it since. But it's something just to be aware of. As long as you hit the cigar gas spray before he pushes you along, you're fine. And as soon as you hit him with it, he will stop.
You seem like a bit of an old man now, aren't you?
So he is. He can actually, the end can actually die of old age. So if you save the game during any point after the fight starts with him, paramedic will give you like a warning, like, "Oh no, you shouldn't save here." And then if you set the date forward or wait 2 weeks in real time and then load the save, Snake will just find the end dead. We can't do that in a marathon. It is the fastest way to kill him, technically, because you can just change the clock and load the game back up, and the in-game timer is died in like 1 second. But that's only for multi-segment runs, and it's minutes and minutes faster than actually fighting him.
God is.
I'm gonna have to shut up for everyone's favourite bit. I can't see chat, but I'm just assuming.
great now. How are you? Who's that? Oh my
There's always one. There's always one.
I can't see you. You have to go in the stream. We're just gonna. Okay.
Oh my!
We're just gonna be.
Every time at UKSG, we've always got Trico doing that in the background, and so I think it's just so fitting that he's turned up at the last minute to do it.
He's got to continue it the whole way though. Right.
Oh, you will.
Just hear it behind me.
That was a beautiful
That was
performance from Panda.
well done.
Amazing.
Yeah, nice.
So the next 3 rooms I always refer to as Mountain 1, 2, and 3. Mountain 1 and 3 in particular are really difficult. Mountain 2 is just kind of hard. Because of the length of the room again, and just becomes more difficult the further into it we get. So I'm going to use the box here. I need to get behind the second guard, this first guard, at the right enough angle that the guard in the top right is going to begin walking towards me. If that doesn't happen, you just get caught. I need to stay far enough from the left guard so he doesn't see me. And then I need to roll and spray gas on this guard before my stomach growls. So you heard it just growl just after I knock the guard down. So the whole room's like on a timer. Guards can hear the sound of Snake's stomach growling, and that'll get us caught. So we kind of accommodate our room strats for that.
Think you get stung by a scorpion on this bit?
Yeah, so there's a little scorpion mini game in a second. If you get stung by him, the guard will notice you. That guard got a little bit close for comfort there. He just begins walking towards you, and he can see you from quite far away. So my stomach's just growled, so I know it's safe to go. There's a scorpion just on the ground here as I go round with the box. Oh no, he's in a bad place. No, it's fine. If the scorpion stings you, you come out of your box and the guard instantly sees you. So it's a fun little mini game avoiding the scorpion. Just got to take out these last 2 guards. This Mountain 2, it's not too bad. Snake's hitbox on his roll's really big, and it's really obvious there how much bigger than his actual character it is. Mountain 3, this is the one I like the least. So I need to use the sound of my footsteps to distract this guard, and then that'll allow me to roll over him, shoot the gun, which will make 3 guards all react in different ways. Makes one on the left run away. Makes this one in the top right start walking towards me. Oh no, I think I'm caught. Just. So you have to be close enough to the screen for the second guard to not be able to see you, and you have to get over to this door before the third guard comes off his radio. Really difficult room. Really difficult room. Just any sort of stuck on a wall or any sort of bad movement mistake, and you'll get a continue there. Now I'm going to make my way to the Fury. If for a non-lethal victory against the Fury, you get the fire camo. So I have that in New Game Plus. It prevents you from catching fire, and it also means you take less damage from explosions. So I'm going to put that on for the next fight. I'm just going to use the 3D camera here so I can roll onto this ledge. It's a little bit awkward to do with the normal camera, but that's pretty much the only time I use that camera in the whole game. But you can use that camera anytime in the HD collection.
Like a fashionista, this one.
Yeah.
Hey. Different changes.
He's got some cool costumes and cool face paints and masks as well. And in the Smash game as well, they use the fire camo as one of Snake's costumes, and also animals. So
Oh yeah.
they have good taste. So I can hit the trigger for that boss by jumping to the ledge and catching it. It's a little bit faster.
I thought you were gone then.
So I'm going to listen out for what side the Fury lands on. He's on the left. Just hope for the best. Nope. Kind of like a gamble when you first come out there. It's whether you're going to hit him. On each difficulty, he's like, he reacts faster. As the difficulty goes higher, he reacts faster and faster to you. So it's kind of just like a gamble when you go out like that to try and get him. It's like the game's glitch. I keep getting the fire animation even when I'm not stood in it. It's kind of weird. Never seen that before. I've never seen that happen before.
What, I'm hitting himself by the fire?
No, it's as if I'm on fire when I'm not. So that was decent Fury, fast enough. You can use the Mosin Nagant and he takes 6 shots to beat with the Mosin Nagant. But I just find it a little bit finicky. It's really easy to die and it's not crazy marathon safe. If you are Raichu, it is crazy marathon safe. So Raichu's another MGS3 runner who's pretty much a master with all the most difficult parts. So he's really good at the Ocelot unit and he's really good at the Fury. But yeah, for me, not marathon viable. Prefer to use the Patriot. This area lags on the HD collection, so your FPS drops. You can just kind of manipulate the camera to sort of ease it a little bit. And you use that later in the game as well. So you get better FPS if you kind of put your camera here, so it's got less to load. And low frame rate does affect the IGT as well, it's been tested. So I'm going to use the box again for a manipulation, but it's a little bit different this one. While the guard's going for his down teammate, he can't see Snake in a box. So he can see Snake not in the box. That's like his #1 thing, to find Snake. But he prioritizes downed teammates over moving boxes. So it's just kind of lucky that that works, because that would be a difficult room to get into otherwise. I'm going to fire my gun here and then switch to the scientist costume. You can't fire a weapon whilst you're in a scientist costume. That's going to make... Essentially, I need to get a guy and steal his clothes. So that's going to put him in a place where he's easier to do that. I have to wait for the radio to say acknowledged. This is a little bit weird. I have to be really fast to get to the bottom of the room with Rykov. I might have been a little bit slow here, so I could get caught. Hopefully not. No, we're fine. There's two, I don't know if you saw them, they're a little bit off screen, but 2 guards run past because of the caution, but they're facing towards the door in the top right, so they won't see you as long as you stay out of their vision.
These guards are really bad at their job.
I'd disagree. I think they're really good at catching you.
Oh, it's just you then.
It's just,
Too
yeah,
good,
it's just me. No, they're good, but they're manipulatable. So now I'm dressed as Rykov. I've had the mask on the whole time just so I can save doing it there as a menu, because I went from the brown camo to the mask. This will allow me to fool some guards into thinking that I'm Major Rykov, the guy I just took uniform from. And let's progress to the next area. The glitch hunter that I mentioned earlier, Appel, he was doing some testing in the emulator, and he said that as long as you get behind that door, so if you could get through the wall, the load zone is there, so it's possible sequence break in the future if we can find a way to get behind that door, essentially.
Sir.
So I've got like a couple of minutes of unskippable cutscene here, so Paul, if there's anything you want to talk about or jump in, mate, feel free.
He wasn't listening.
Yeah, he was. He was
My sincere
attention was
apologies for
elsewhere.
that.
No worries, mate. If you just want to jump in, I've got unskippable cutscene here, so you're fine.
That's cool then. Let's talk a little bit about our partner, Save the Children. So, Save the Children trains frontline health workers in communities to diagnose and treat common childhood illnesses like pneumonia, diarrhea, malaria, and newborn sepsis, empowering them to provide services that are proven to reduce child deaths. To ensure that the most vulnerable families have the funds to give their children the right kind of food and care needed to stay healthy, Save the Children makes sure that expectant mothers and babies receive care and information before, during, and after childbirth, so that babies have the best chances of surviving, growing, and developing. From everyone here, thank you all for your support and for your donations.
Nice.
Yeah, thank you as well. I appreciate it.
What is
There's-
going on here?
You're being tortured, and sadly, Snake loses an eye here as well. He gets his shot out.
God.
Yeah, so he kills a guy before he tortures us. This is Volgin, the main bad guy in the game.
Than he was. But first, let's take a look at your body, shall we?
This part's unskippable, but if while you're getting hit you hold the menu, you don't actually take any damage. So if you're interested in finishing the game with no life taken and stuff like that, it is possible in the game.
Well then, let's get started. What is your target?
So he kind of gives away his whole plan. It's like
Is it the Shagohod?
exposition, so you can tell
Or Sokolov?
tell the player what's going on.
Or maybe it's the Legacy. Answer me. Who is helping you? Who let you
I
in?
don't like this. I feel bad for him.
Feel more bad for Sokol if he's like dead in
But even
a barrel
you
at this
must
point.
have your limits. And I am a patient man.
All right, so after this, we're trapped in the cell. There's quite a few ways to escape it, but my favorite, I'm not going to spoil it. I'm just going to do it actually. But this is my favorite way to escape. So I need this rat. Hopefully, I can get it. I need to kill that rat. I'm going to take out the fake death pill and the transmitter, and then we're just going to spin Snake around. I'm just counting the spins. So we're going to spin Snake around, and that's going to make him throw up, hopefully. Okay. And then the guard will come open the door for us because Snake threw up. So punch kick's not enough to knock him out, and hitting him with the revolver's not enough to knock him out. But if we do both, I didn't shake him twice. I really don't want those noodles. All right, sweet. If we punch and then cancel it by equipping a weapon and hit him with the revolver, that will work. This trick's frame perfect, so I might not get it first time, but if that guard turns around, it's all over. No, it looks like we got it. For some reason, if you throw food as soon as you get out the door, those guards don't turn around and look at you. I don't know why it works, I just know it does work. But it does, as I say, it's frame perfect. You have to throw and immediately switch to the smoke grenade as soon as the food leaves your hand. Otherwise, it doesn't work. So here I'm going to throw a smoke grenade. I don't know if I threw that high enough. Hopefully. Then again, I'm just going to cancel my movement with this. Sweet, that guard turned around. As long as you stand in the box and throw the smoke grenade, it'll hit the dog.
13 dogs again.
Yeah. I only threw a smoke grenade at him. I think he'd do worse if he got hold of me. So it's fair. I'm going to smoke as well. I need to take Snake's health down as much as possible. Cigar will slowly take your health down. Because at the end of the sewers, I'm going to have to kill myself, so the lower my health is, the easier that is to do. And on European Extreme, you have the least health, so it's quite easy to get your health down. Over here, there's a life med. Kind of like what rations are in this game. As long as you have it on when you take lethal damage, you'll immediately get healed. The main reason I'm going to use that is during a fight later in the game. I'm going to take lethal damage as like a buffer to set up like the boss loop. But I'll explain that when I get to it. You can roll into prone, so you can roll into these little grates. Well, save a little bit of time. This is supposed to be like a rip-off of The Great Escape. Hideo Kojima, the game developer, loves movies, so he tries to put them all into his games. So there's recently been a glitch found that allows Snake to go into like a state where he can walk through walls, and if that could be gotten here, it'd be really useful because we can run to the end. So here we go. I'm gonna go like this is like a boss fight, like an anti-boss fight. There's ways out of it, like to kill yourself, but it's not obvious to the player that you can do that when you originally play the game. Most people just swim to the end of this river, which is much slower. So this is the fastest way to get out of here. During this section, you do still have your items, which isn't obvious again to the player unless you go into the pause menu. So you can equip grenades and them to kill yourself. So if you don't take the transmitter out, which I took out in the cell, you'd normally have like a guard unit here. Which again is game over if discovered, so taking that out is really important on European Extreme. So there's a thing here called the bridge roll. I'm not going to do it, but basically you roll off there onto the waterfall. If you get it, it saves 1 second. And if you miss it, you lose about 35. But still, some people do it.
That'll be worth it for that second, won't it?
Yeah, more of like a
safe one, yeah.
a cost equivalence, yeah. Time spent. This is the longest load in the game. It's unreal. It's like 25 seconds or something.
That's mad, that.
Yeah.
25 seconds.
Yeah. Even with the best equipment, it's still so long. So we're meeting Eva here. She's going to give us our equipment back. And then we can go like into the sort of final sneaking area of the game, the sort of final part of the mission before we go into the end game sequence.
That wasn't 25 seconds.
Yeah, it was. No, it's something like 23, but yeah, it's long. So I've got to grab this box at the end. This box is going to save a ton of time. I'm going to do my menu here as well. So there is a little trick for this next area with the tanks. It's quite fun. There's a cutscene as you're going up, but then I'm going to set up my menus. So I need the box and the stun gun, tranquilizer. So the way we move with the box there is going to distract the guards. That makes that first guard turn towards him. The second guard come for the downed enemy, and then I can just sort of sneak past in the box. And as I say, the box is really important that we pick it up because we're going to get in the back of this truck here and it will just take us straight to the lab. So it's a good little trick that even if you're playing casually, it saves you a lot of time. Get the box and it'll just send you exactly where you need to go. In the weapons lab, if you shoot any of the tanks with a lethal weapon or they happen to get hit with a lethal weapon, the whole room will blow up. But for some reason, if you hit them with a non-lethal weapon, you get a caution. And all the guards just run to they run somewhere in the room where they can't see anyone. Don't know why it happens, but it's super useful. And then these mechanics, like the scientists before, if they see you in the box, they just get confused. They'll never go into an alert. You can literally just sit there in the box. They're not equipped to deal with boxes. If a guard sees you doing that, and you haven't like set him up with a downed enemy or something, they'll just immediately alert. So the guards have moved away now because of this caution, and we can just kind of plant all the C3 bombs. So this next fight is Volgin. We're going to use the SVD sniper rifle, and hopefully I can get the loop on him. But as I say, we're going to use a life med so we can set up the second phase. The first phase is a little bit more tricky. You have to throw him to the floor and then kind of like manipulating the time where you can deal damage to him. It's really, really easy to mess up as well. CQC throw him, shoot him once.
He's a scary guy.
That's phase 1. I'm quite happy with that. It's easy to just waste all your bullets during his frames where he can't be hit. So we wanted to use a couple of M1911 bullets at the end there, so that was decently fast. At UKSG I completely messed it up and I had to like get the Patriot out and run in circles around him. I found this trick: if we unequip the SVD here when we put the RPG on, it'll put it back into our menu later in a much better place. Tech, please can I have the sound down a little bit? My ears is like crazy loud portion of the game.
I don't think we heard that.
No, I think they did. This section essentially you just want to avoid the RPG guards and deal as much damage to the Shagohod as possible. To deal damage to the Shagohod we have to hit him on that faceplate. The other thing is, the RPG causes a lot of lag, so I tend to look at the floor during the particularly laggy sections. That'll keep the frame rate decent, which will mean the bike still moves at a good speed. You can lose a lot of time to lag, you know, kind of look away from it. It's much better to stay alive than deal damage to the Shagohod, in my opinion. It's much better to be cautious with your shots rather than just trying to spam him and deal as much damage as possible. You get a much better chance on the runway to deal damage to him.
I love how before you were dead stealthy and outside I just shoot everything.
Well, they've already seen me now, so it doesn't matter. There's a little Shagohod like visual glitch you can get there, but it's really rare. I've been trying to set it up. Again, we're just trying to do as much damage as possible. In a sec, he's going to knock that tank over. Really important you look at the floor here because it drops to about 5 FPS otherwise. Much better to just deal a small amount of damage and don't deal any damage to Snake or Evo. Because if you shoot an RPG too close and it explodes on us, we're going to be on really low health and then we're in a lot of danger. This next section is more about killing the guards as quickly as possible, because Eva will get stuck in certain positions if you don't kill the guards fast enough. She'll just wait for them to die, so it's really important. And there's also a guard who's going to shoot an RPG at us if we're not fast enough to kill him. It's not just bad because it does a lot of damage, but also the game drops to about 2 FPS if you get hit by an RPG, so you lose like 20 seconds. That's 1. So kill those guards fast enough to let them progress to the next section. Now there's going to be an RPG guard on the roof here. This one's the most dangerous. You can see him up there. He's really awkward to shoot as well. It's the last RPG guard just at the end of this room here. That's fine, I got him too. It's kind of risky. I mean, the machine gun guards do damage to you as well, but you've just got to prioritize the big damage. So we're up to runway now, just like in GoldenEye. Doing runway there, we're going to look down as much as possible. There's no grenade boost in, unfortunately, but basically the same concept. Look down, save some frames. At this point, you can't damage the Shagohod. You can see him, you know, hanging out in the background, but you can't do any damage to him. In the next section, we'll be able to damage him. The other thing I'm doing, I don't know if I mentioned this, but if you shoot a weapon normally, a snake will like reload it, takes ages. But if you turn it, if you unequip it and re-equip it, you'll get a full clip of whatever gun you're using. So that allows us to like shoot the RPG way more than it's intended to be shot.
They just come out of nowhere, don't they?
Yeah, they literally do just appear on the screen. They tend to, so if you're looking over here, they'll tend to spawn over there, but if you look down, they'll just appear off in the distance. You can sort of catch them doing it if you look up as well. But yeah, every time you kill them, it'll just spawn more in. Now I'm just going to try and deal as much damage to the Shagohod as possible before we reach the end of the runway. I don't want to spam the RPG at him too fast because it's really easy to damage the treads, which will make him kind of drive out of the way of me. But I want to get as much damage as possible. But it's better to be patient and make sure all your shots hit than just like spam as quickly as possible. There's another one that tends to spam while we're doing it as well. So yeah, I've damaged the treads from splash damage there. It can happen. Happens less on the Xbox One, to be honest with you, but. So now I get to the rail bridge and it puts the SVD sniper rifle back in my inventory and it puts it in the first position, which is much better than when we had it before. So take out these C4s, but then also use it for the boss fight just after. It's a lot easier to switch between them. There's like a loop that we use for Volgin on top of the Shagohod, and it's a lot easier to do with the RPG in the last position and the SVD in the first position. So there's a specific giveaway. It's when he drives through that M in the middle that you can pull the trigger. So wherever you're aiming, the SVD will still hit, so you can like undo him and hit C4. So I haven't really dealt that much damage to the Shagohod, so this will be like quite a long fight. Every time you hit him, it gets iframes for a little bit. While you can still see the back sparking, it's still got invincibility frames. I can't believe he just hit me. He never normally hits me. Like he's pretty useless at dealing damage, if I'm honest with you. I was more surprised as the machine gun was about to hit me that it was actually going to happen. Really bad shooting here. You shoot the tread and then Eva can drive around him, but sometimes he'll spin in the same direction you drive in, sometimes Eva will just drive the bike straight into him, which is notoriously bad during this section for like kind of messing up your fight. And the higher difficulty you go, the longer it takes to win this fight, and you can just lose minutes upon minutes here. And it can get crazy laggy as well. So here he's sort of spinning at the same time as we're driving around him, so we can't get the back of him.
Horrible driving, that.
Yeah.
Not like me.
Says he can't move as he spins perfectly in the same direction as we're driving. Just one more hit and then I've done him. Alright, so hopefully I can shoot him early with the SVD here because although he's not done yet. Thank you though, I do appreciate it. But I don't want to do half a job. There we go.
Nice.
Thanks, guys. If you let him get away from you with that loop, if you sort of let him drive around and face you, that fight can become like pretty difficult really quickly.
You got great advice, haven't you?
They can only have 3 or 4 bikes on screen at any one time, and it has during this first section it has specific places where it can spawn them back in. So I kind of know where they're coming up, and I can try and take them out before they kind of have a chance to kill me. One of them was really like spinning out of control there as well. So this section I can spend a lot of time, as much time as possible, looking down. The ambush section just after this has RPG guards as well to deal with, so I have to watch out for them. But that's like your main danger during this section. And during this section I have unlimited ammo as well, so that's why I can spam the gun as much as possible. So now I'm just going to shoot the drivers off. The normal, shoot the wheelmen off. The drivers don't do as much damage. They don't tend to hit you very often. And while they're like that, no more can spawn in. Here's kind of a weird section where they all park up. It's just weird that they threw that in.
Yeah, we gave up.
Yeah, it's so these guards can like spawn on screen without it lagging too much. But I just think it's funny that they just park up. Like, yeah, that'll do for the chase.
Yeah, let's have a break.
It really is just pure laziness. They didn't have to like draw them driving round here. But yeah, I just think that's kind of funny. So there's an RPG guard. He's kind of sat in the back of this car here. And I really need to kill him. Yeah, I got him. I can't stress enough how bad it is if you get hit by a rocket. So this game's set in, I want to say, the 60s, and for some reason they have hovercrafts, like these flying platforms. What fuel are they using? Like, what is that? But I feel like they invented these guys just to annoy me because they can get parked over the top of you. You can't look up to shoot them, and they just do a ton of damage. Sometimes when they crash as well, they can set you on fire. So just absolute nightmare of an area. I just like to check I'm on fire if I'm on fire or not occasionally. Fire does like the most damage out of anything. It'll just do all of your health in a second. So one to look out for. It's completely random whether one crashes into you and sets you on fire. I'd say it's somewhat rare, but it always seems to happen during Marathon. Gotta take out the log there.
I don't know how bullets have managed to evaporate.
Yeah, that's how it works. I suppose if you did shoot the sniper into it multiple times, it'd get rid of any big log debris.
Maybe.
So it's the last section for the bike chase. It's pretty chill. Compared to the last one where you just feel like you're constantly in threat of dying. So again, I just want to shoot the gunmen off, because the drivers won't do that much damage to me. And while there's like just a driverless bike,
They won't respawn.
a gunman-less bike, yeah, the new ones won't
we
respawn.
got what you were saying. I'm waiting for the big jump.
So this section's a particularly like environment heavy. It does get really laggy if you're not like looking down as much as possible. You don't quite have to look down, you just can't look out into it. You want the least possible on screen. These are fine, they won't do much damage to me at all. I think just at the end here is the last section. It allows 4 bikes on screen, so another one should spawn. There he is.
Here it comes.
If you have the bike still up, 2 of them will try and make the jump with you and fail.
Aww.
But I don't know why, because surely we would be heavier because we've got 2 people on the bike, whereas they only have 1. But I don't know, maybe it's just because Eva's a skilled driver.
Ash.
I can't really say that though, because in the next section she does crash. So
Exactly.
So it's the last section. It gives you like a little escort quest here at the end. Normally we used to wait to feed her, but if you feed her here, Raiju found that it'll save you a menu because you're already in the menu to do the cure. And she can last until the end of the game now if you feed her there.
Still think that outfit is ridiculous.
You won't take damage from Snake either, so if you throw her to the ground like that, it doesn't hurt her at all. I don't know if they just forgot to put it in there, but... This section here, 4 guards are like kind of on your tail. As long as you get moving right at the start, they won't actually ever see you. So we used to like throw smoke grenades and all sorts into that section. 4 guards that are going to come out of that tunnel there, but you don't actually need to do that. As long as you're quick to move, you're fine.
He's not quick, is she?
She has just had like a log, like a branch through her leg or something. You can see the guards, they appear there at the back.
You've got to have good sight, haven't you?
It's much harder to stay on like the older versions, so like PlayStation 2. This area is just like one green blob. I do think the game looks quite smart on the HD collection.
It does look nice.
So we just got one more section to go through for the final boss. Super annoying. There's tons of guards and they all react to each other really awkwardly when you try and take them out. So I'm just going to try and be as accurate as possible. That's what I really did not want to have. Just one more here on the bottom right.
Ain't coming then.
He's especially awkward because if he sees that guard at the bottom, he just for some reason decides to run towards you at full sprint. Obviously, as soon as the guard sees you, it's game over. So, Eva likes to troll here as well. So, I had a run on one of the lower difficulties on world record pace up until this point, which is right at the end of the game. and then where she's supposed to jump down off this bridge, off this like hillside, she just ran off back to the start of the level. I've never seen it since, fortunately, but I just live in fear of it now. There's no recovery for it, and there's no, you know, it's completely out of your control. I'm going to kick that to distract a guard here. Oh, needs to be more far forward. If you hit him anywhere but the head, he will immediately look up here. Just one in the grass there that you can't see as well.
It's the enemy.
That's all of them. Hopefully she doesn't run off. It looked dicey for a second there. She just kind of stopped.
She wasn't sure, was she?
I told you earlier I was going to kick a snake. Sometimes she can just see that snake, get confused, and then, like, off basically, so.
I'm so hungry.
And this is it, we're coming up to the final boss, so.
Like a dog.
Yeah.
Come on.
Hurry up. This is the last boss. The boss, there's a really difficult, like, infinite loop you can get on her, so I'm going to try for that first. If it fails, there's backups.
Excellent, Jack.
So I've got to wait a little bit before I shoot her. So I need to move away and then face her and she'll run straight towards me.
Your skills have improved.
Nice.
We got there. So it's just a little bit more to go before I can call time, so it is going to be coming up really, really soon. There's a nice little unskippable cutscene here. It seems a lot less sad in the speedrun, but in the real game it's really, really sad.
Take this. Keep it safe.
I'm not sure I have a port that goes in,
It's hard.
but apparently that's got $30 billion on it.
I'd like that.
So she gives us the Patriot here, which obviously we're playing New Game Plus, we already had it the whole time. So if you complete your New Game Plus save over and over again, you just end up with loads of Patriots. It's kind of like at the end of the Goose game, where he takes the bell back and he's got hundreds of them. Just like that, just throw your Patriot into the ditch.
You're a wonderful man. Kill me. Kill me now. Do it.
Is that outfit inappropriate as well?
Yes. Like, who wears that?
There's only room for one boss and one snake.
The game actually makes you pull the trigger as well, which is nice. But yeah, just one more duel with Ocelot, and then I'll call time. So as soon as the final bullet goes off with the gun, 6 shots. That's time.
Well done. Very nice.
Not bad. It's my first marathon run of this game with no continues.
I think that was me, though.
Yeah, I think it was. A no continues run of this game is insanely hard, and I think a lot of those rooms don't really look hard when I didn't make a mistake in them first. But it is a really difficult game. But if it's something you want to learn, MetalGearSpeedrunners.com. We've got Wikipedia with guides and a Discord as well. Please join that if you want to run any of the Metal Gear games from Metal Gear 1 all the way to Metal Gear Survive and everything in between. Thanks for having me, ESA. It was a big goal of mine to run here for the first time, so I'm really happy I've done it. I'm playing Metal Gear solid on stream 2 a little bit later, 12:15 if you want to watch that as well. Thanks very much for watching and
Yep, I know.
staying with me.
Sorry.